Previously on the David Eagle podcast.
Antisocial idiots.
A really big, farty Benny Hill theme on the panpipes.
You'll never go bong in my ning-nang-nong ever again.
Pom-pom nipples, pom-pom nipples, pom-pom nipples, ready to go. Pom-pom nipples, pom-pom nipples, pom-pom nipples, got my nipples on show. One of the two, three, the bottom, microphone, and the bottom,
Now, it's time for the podcast presented by a man who's not quite as amusing as a dancing cat. It's the David Eagle Podcast. It's Tosh time. It's the David Eagle Podcast. It's another long one. My goodness. The first my goodness, 6 seconds in. It's been a really busy week. I thought it was going to be another brief podcast, but that is not the case. In fact, I recorded way too much and ended up taking things out, including a 90-minute walk where I told a story, and I thought this is going to be far too long, far too much for me to edit, so I didn't use it in the end. So it was a really busy week, and then I spent an hour and a half walking in the park, essentially just talking to my nipples, because for those people who are not regular listeners, that is where the microphones are essentially housed next to. I am starting to think that they must be. I don't really go on the Hillsborough Facebook groups or anything like that, but they do have like community groups. I imagine there's got to be someone going, does anyone know what's going on with the blind man who's just walking around in circles in the park, talking to his nipples? He was there for 90 minutes the other day. Do we need to call anybody? Anyway, I think I'm fine. I'm doing all right, considering I've done some weird gigs in my time, as you know. But this week, I did a gig in probably the most unusual setting that I've ever done a gig before. So I'll be telling you all about that. There's loads of stuff. We're just going to get on with it. I say this every week as well. We're just going to get on with it. I won't do an introduction. We'll just bloody well get on with it. And then I talk for another 2 minutes. But I'm not going to do that. Come on. What I will say, very quickly, is if you would like to see me doing gigs and you happen to reside in the North East and Cumbria and Northumberland, then I may be doing a gig somewhere in your vicinity. And you can find out by going to davideagle.co.uk/gigs. I don't know why I'm advertising Slashers gigs. I don't think I will be joined by a dancing cat, but you never know. You know, if the ticket sales aren't doing very well, I might have to see about getting a cat in. Anyway, there's loads of stuff coming up. Enjoy it. That was me hoping that you enjoy it rather than a command. I think it came out a little bit more brusque than I hoped for there. Do apologise, but I know some people might enjoy that. Oh, yes. Dominate me, David. Anyway, sorry. Right, let's get on with it. This week's episode of the David Eagle podcast entitled Barbers, Biscuits and Birds. Enjoy. Well, Ellie Eagle Skinner, I don't know if it's anything to do with the power of the David Eagle podcast.
Surely it
Word is getting out because Ellie has been on BBC Sheffield. She's been on their secret South Yorkshire. Oh, there. That's just a little teaser there, listeners. She's been on their secret South Yorkshire feature talking about the building where Music Hub is. Yeah. But what is interesting about it is the person who's doing the production has decided to, every opportunity that there is, to furnish it with sound effects. So, for instance, there's a bit, isn't there, where someone's talking about, this is another woman in it as well. I mean, I say that actually. She does all of the talking. You talk for the first few seconds, don't you? It's only a 5-minute feature in itself.
You hear me laugh.
You can hear you laugh. Oh, Olivia, she said laugh there rather than laugh.
Yeah, you hear me laugh.
That's very interesting that you do grass and glass, but you go a laugh.
I can't say laugh.
Okay.
That's not my accent.
Fair
laugh.
enough.
Anyway,
so
yes.
So you can hear you laugh.
It's interesting because Katie, who is the producer who made the recording, she came in and we had a big chat and we walked around the building and then she was like, oh, okay, well, let's do the recording. And we recorded about half an hour, which was obviously going to be too much stuff for a 4-minute episode on BBC Sounds. But yeah, the sound effects do remind me a little bit of Homes Under the Hammer when they've got...
Oh, for the music?
Yeah. You know, when they go, oh, and my kids are going to help me do it up.
And they go, help, I need somebody.
The kids are all right. Or like... when they go, this house needs a lot of fixing up.
This old house.
Yeah.
All right, said Fred. Have a cup of tea then. Whatever it is.
This old house could use windows.
Oh, that's a good drink. That's a good drinking game, listeners, by the way. This old house, and you have to drink on the word house. Anyway, little drinking game. I don't know why I'm encouraging listeners to drink. If you haven't already, you start drinking, listeners.
I mean, if there was a David Eagle podcast drinking game, would it be each time
I say, oh my goodness.
yes, or bloody hell.
Yeah.
Or when you go on a tangent.
But do you just keep
causing liver problems?
Do you just keep drinking for as long as the tangent lasts? Because in some
until
cases...
you go back to what you were meant to be talking about.
That might take 6 podcast episodes. But yes, so she was doing that, but not musically. She was doing it with sound effects. So there was moments where you were talking, Leslie was talking, because that's the other thing. You talked to her for quite a long time, but really all she used was, where are we then, Ellie?
And then you where we were.
Explained where you were. And then there was another bit where they said, well, let's go down and investigate. And then Leslie did the rest of it. The only other bit that you did was you said something like, mind the step.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And there was another bit where she said, could you hold the door open for me? And you held the door open.
I made a good
and the door sounded absolutely brilliant. That was an authentic, real sound effect. Maybe that's what inspired her. Because there was the sound of the door. When you've had training on the David Eagle podcast, you know how people enjoy the doors, Olivia's commented on our door creak. So there's real door noises. But then I think that inspired her. Because, ironically, I'm thinking, we're doing the director's commentary. We're doing a dissection of the thing. It's actually longer than the thing. The thing is 4 minutes long and we're talking about it for longer. We should message the producer and say, hey, you can hear the dissection.
Well, I don't know. Say to her as well, when we were prepping to get ready for the recording, I said, I don't think there's any point me actually speaking because Leslie's the one that's done the research and knows about it.
And you get enough airtime on the David Eagle podcast. You don't need, this Leslie, she might need the limelight. You don't.
I even said, I'm sorry, I ramble too much. I'm used to talking because I'm on the David Eagle podcast. And she was like, actually, it's better for you to talk more. It's easier for me to work with words than silence. Although, to be fair, she could have filled the silence with
sound effects.
The sound of the bombs dropping.
So that's what it was. So you were talking about it was in wartime. So at one point, Leslie says, this is where the air raid sirens would have gone off. And then all of a sudden, he just said, it wasn't. It was the air raid siren doing it. It wasn't just some producer. Katie just did it herself. She was very odd, quite disrespectful, I thought. Oh, the air raid siren. Then Katie just started going. It's quite a camp air raid siren. Check out my bomb. But the air raid siren did go on for quite a while. I would have said maybe just a little bit in the background.
And I maybe would have turned it down a little bit.
Yeah, she really went for the air raid siren. I feel this is almost as if, because I've heard a few Secret South Yorkshire episodes, and I've not heard it so replete with sound effects. So I think maybe they got a new contract or something. Maybe they did we've renewed our sound effects contract, and so she's like, oh, brilliant. And it's just a bit of a kid in a sweet shop. So the air raid siren went on for quite some time, and eventually the air raid siren faded out, and I thought, finally, that's the end of that sound effect. And then, of course, Leslie said, and of course, there'd have been lots of bombs dropping. My goodness me.
Yeah, and I think some of it was anti-aircraft gun noises.
There was anti-aircraft things, there was bombs. And it was just, that went on for quite some time. And then at one point she said, and this is the moment where the ARP team would get phone calls. So, of course, ring, ring, suddenly came out. So then we had the whole phone thing and the bombs continued to drop. It was very odd, but well done, Ellie.
Well, let's not slag it off too much.
I'm not slagging it off. It probably is. I think wearing headphones, it might be quite atmospheric, but when it's in your phone, everything is just sort of compressed. So all of a sudden, it does sound quite a lot going on. I think maybe, Ellie, what we could do is maybe we could do an episode or a day's entry of the David Eagle podcast. I'm not entirely sure where we try and furnish it with appropriate music / sound effects at any given opportunity. So we'll just tell some kind of innocuous story. Yeah. And then we'll just drop in relevant music and sound effects. It might not be what I'm going to tell you about tomorrow, listeners, because I'll just preface it with this. I did a gig last night, listeners, a comedy gig that was set inside a sex club. That's Ellie's sound effect. When she thinks of sex, she just starts yawning.
That little laugh that David did also sounds very familiar.
Yes. Ellie's only in there for 20 seconds. I say in there. Will you hold the door open for me? Anyway.
Stop it. None of that's going in. Except obviously
Is that a sound effect?
I've just said none of that's going in and you'll go, bloody well.
It'll do for l'entendre. the familiar sound of the kitchen door creaking, but there is nothing familiar about the situation I found myself in this week. So I was doing a comedy gig in Manchester, and as I was heading down, it was in this basement, and I was shown into the bit where the comedians are meant to be. I was the first to arrive, and I walk forward. Someone says, "Oh, be careful!" And it was slightly too late. I walked into this thing, and it moved, and it kind of ricocheted back at me, nearly knocking me over, so that I landed almost on this thing. I thought, what the bloody hell is this big monstrosity in the middle of the room? Like this weird piece of apparatus. And they said, that's a swing. And I was like, why have you got a swing in the green room? How many comedians or band members are swinging? Before I get on stage, I'll have myself a bit of a swing. And then they said, it's a sex swing. I have absolutely no idea what a sex swing is. Anyway, it turns out this was a sex club. I had absolutely no idea about this. And I have no idea what a sex swing is. I don't know how it's used. Anyway, I was pleased, because presumably there's naked people on this. I mean, it's a sex swing. Because I was very close to falling flat on my face onto this thing, which goodness knows what kind of an experience that would have got me. I would have been shocked. My mouth would have been wide open. Oh dear, I dread to think. I mean, one thing I do know at this sex club is they take cleanliness very seriously. I know this because a little bit later on, another thing that I fell over was this massive machine. I thought, what bloody hell, what bit of apparatus is this? And they said, it was absolutely massive. And it had like these nozzles and tubes and stuff. And I thought, I dread to think of what I've just touched now. This big nozzle. I thought, where's that going? And it turns out they said, that's our cleaning station. There was cages in this place as well. That was quite confusing for me, because I was wandering around and all of a sudden I just turned this corner and there's a bit of metal and then there's just with a hinge. And that's the sex cage. I like the fact that everything has the word sex before it. She doesn't really need to. I mean, it's a sex club. Oh, that's our sex swing. That's our sex cage. Although they didn't call the cleaning area the sex cleaning area. The sex cleaning machine. I mean, fortunately, the sex club was not open for business. I think it was open for business a little bit later. And it had been open the night before. And then they showed me to a sofa. And I was thinking, God knows what was going on this sofa just a few hours earlier. I don't even know if I knew that sex clubs existed in the UK. I mean, there can't have been a more unsexy image for anybody who might have been looking around. Maybe they were going to book a party there. Works outing. No, outing indeed. Works do. And do indeed. I just like the idea of them showing someone around. There's like a viewing gallery. Would there be a viewing gallery? I don't know, that sounds a bit odd. But they're just showing people around and they're going, oh yeah, and this is our sex swing. And then they just look in and there's a blind man tripping over the sex swing, ricocheting into a cleaning machine. The cleaning machine was massive. And then to make matters even weirder, I got someone driving me. I didn't ask him to, but I said, I think there's been a bit of confusion, my friend. I'm not part of the sex club. He said, I do apologise. And it just so happened that the person driving me was Marilla. Now, you may remember Marilla, a friend of ours and a massage therapist, and I confused the bank call centre member of staff. I won't go into the details because you can hear that on the first episode of this current series of the David Eagle podcast, but essentially I confused the person working at the bank's call centre, probably led him on to think that Marilla was not a massage therapist but was in fact a sex worker. So Marilla's already had one confusing situation in my life where I have accidentally suggested that she might be a sex worker, and then she's not driven me to a gig for a year. The first gig that she takes me to, and we both go in together, and it turns out I've taken her into a sex club. It only could have got weirder if it just so happened that the person working at the sex club was the person who used to have a job at the bank call centre. And he's like, I've got a new job now. Hello, David. And who's this? Oh, let me guess. It's not Marilla, is it? I thought it might be. And I'm still trying to claim my innocence. I suppose you'll be buying your wife a gift after this. I know the old routine. That'll make more sense if you listen to the first one of the series. So there were a few things that struck me. Well, indeed there were. The sex swing and the... Honestly, it couldn't have been a more incendiary place for a blind person. It was like an obstacle course or an assault course. Well, it wasn't an assault course. I was being assaulted. A sexy assault course. There was nothing sexy about it from my perspective. A sexual assault course. I was not expecting to navigate. Was suddenly being presented to me before anybody could stop me. I was just ricocheting off sex swings, sex cages, sex cleaning machines. They do have all sorts of rules, which is great. They obviously take consent very seriously, and there's all of these rules. about what you can and can't do, which essentially is just make sure you're asking all the time if this is all right, make sure you're looking out for signs that someone doesn't want you to be doing this, and that kind of thing. So that's great, and I suppose it's hopefully just a thing that people would do naturally anyway if they were there. And of course the rules have got to be there for insurance and also just as a bit of a reminder as well. I'm assuming that people aren't, before they can go into the sex cage, they have to read these rules first. Maybe they take a little bit of a quiz just to make sure they've understood them. And then also there's all these rules about please make sure that you thoroughly use the cleaning area. And I don't quite understand, like, when would you use the cleaning area? Beforehand? Oh, beforehand, indeed. And also, that could be a bit... It was just sanitizer. I don't know if it was a special type of sanitizer. Marilla said it just looked like a massive machine with just, like, bottles of sanitizer. Like, almost just hand sanitizer. But it must be something that's a little bit more delicate than that. Because surely the last thing you want, just before someone's about to stick their hand somewhere, I don't think it'd be at all comforting to know that they've just lathered their hand up with hand sanitizer. Or anything else that they might have lathered up. That's gonna sting. It can't just be normal sanitizer. But Marilla said it just looked like normal sanitizer. So we decided not to do it. We thought, no, we're not taking our chances. Are you going in with people that you know? Are you meeting people there? I have no idea how you start doing this. I don't know, let's just say you start kissing or whatever. And the next thing you're thinking, oh, let's take this into the sex room. And the first thing you're presented with is this massive notice. Please read the rules first. Okay, so you're reading the rules. You know, we take cleanliness very seriously and please use the cleaning machine. I don't quite know what you're cleaning. Like, are you expected to clean your penis? I mean, maybe it's more sexy than it seems. Maybe it's part of the process. It's like, oh, you clean my penis and, you know. But I just think the idea of suggesting that things need to be cleaned before you get down to anything, and maybe even cleaned afterwards. You know, like suddenly you've gone into this situation with someone, all you want to do is have a sexual experience, and now you've entered into a domestic arrangement. Or even a domestos arrangement. Well, I hope not. Bloody hell. I hope it's not that. You don't want to get the wrong nozzle. My goodness. What are you doing when you're cleaning? Are you having a conversation with each other? Or are you trying to clean in a sexy way? You're trying to clean while you're kind of, oh, here we go. You know, as you say, I have no idea what happens in a sex club. My idea of, I'm going, oh, here we go. Oh, come on then. Hey, I've no idea. I'd be terrible in a sex club. You know, I'd be the kind of person who'd be like, don't worry about that. I'll do the cleaning. You know, I'd be too awkward to actually do any of the sex stuff. So I'd end up just performing the cleaning duties. And then afterwards, you're expected to clean up after yourself? Presumably. What the rules suggest you are. Oh, my goodness. There we go. There has to be one in every dishwashing experience. People are listening out for it. Some people are going, I'm not into this, all this sex talk, David. This isn't why we listen to the podcast. And then they're thinking maybe about skipping. Well, they've been inspired by Ellie's hula hooping. But then just as they're about to do it, they hear me dropping a dish. And they go, my goodness, that's what we want. That's what we're here for. Yeah, I mean, actually, you probably wouldn't want me doing the cleaning in the sex room. I'm just dropping things. Oh, bloody hell, I do apologise. I hope that wasn't too hot. Yeah, so they had all sorts in this place. They had, like, holes in the walls or whatever, so you could peek through. They're the glory holes, or whatever they are. I'm assuming that's what a glory hole. I'm assuming it's for you to look in. You're looking in. You're not sticking your... No, it's clearly not for that. Because they said, oh yeah, it's a glory hole, but they didn't really explain what it was. So I'm assuming it's just where you're looking. Maybe, God no, maybe it's not. Maybe you put your... I like the fact that you probably... I say you probably know. I've absolutely no idea if you know or not. Well, sorry, I just played a little recording there from the sex club. I don't know what it is. But I don't know how big the hole is. I think actually what it's for is that you put your thing in there, if you've got one. You put your penis in, and then there's something at the other end is waiting for you. Make it sound very ominous. But I don't know how that works as well. I mean, presumably you know there's somebody at the other side as well, because that would be a bit awkward if you're just chancing yourself there and you stick your penis through the other side. If that's even what it's for. I just thought it was maybe so you can have a look through and see what's going on. But then why would it be just a little hole? You'd just have a window, wouldn't you? You wouldn't just have... What no one would want to just peer through a tiny little hole as if they're watching, like, a bird hide I like to see sex happening through a very tiny hole that I have to squint through. That does it for me. But yeah, presumably you know there's somebody at the other side. But then what would be the point in that? But presumably one of the things about doing that, because what would be the thing that's about that is the anonymity, I assume, if indeed that's what it's for. You're not sticking your thing through. But also it's just the logistics. You just put it through the hole and it's all got to be lined up perfectly. And also you commute. Honestly, I just cannot imagine this. Someone stuck their orifice at the other side of the glory hole. You're thinking, oh, what's about to come through? And all of a sudden, bloody hell, what the hell's this? I'm just cleaning you first. You obviously haven't seen the signs from where you are. You're on the outside. But in here, it told me to clean everything first. Let me just read these rules to you, my friend. Apparently, you can get more information by scanning a QR code. Who's going around? Surely, there's nothing more unsexy than incorporating mobile phones into it. Sex is the one thing where you surely can get away from technology. And now it's like, oh yeah, before you can use this apparatus or whatever, please scan the QR code. They should call it the OOR code. Scan the QR before you OOR. And also, I would have thought they take all these rules really seriously. And then they're suggesting that you go in with your mobile phone. Surely, you want anonymity in a place like that. And also, it's in a basement as well. So I don't know how good the signal was. So you've gone into this sex club, you've found someone you want to go in with, you've just met them there, you're in a sexual state. You go in, there's all these rules, then it's before using the apparatus, please, for more information, please use our QR code. And you're the kind of person who's like, oh, well, I've better do things by the book before I can book. So you start scanning the QR code, and then you're like, oh, bloody hell, there's no signal down here. So, right, I'll go upstairs, get myself some signal, read the instructions, I'll come back down. Oh, yeah, great idea, mate. I'll crack on with the cleaning. I like the fact that they call each other mate. I'll crack on with the cleaning, mate. No problem, pal. I think they've got all this stuff there, but I think it's probably just when you're in the moment, you're just in the moment. Surely you're not going, right, come on, clean a machine. Or maybe you are. Maybe these people are really respectful and on it, really kind of into the rules. And maybe that's what it's kind of partly about. I'm assuming that at the end of the shift, the cleaners don't go in. And when they're telling their mates, oh, I've got myself a new cleaning job. Oh, yeah, where is it? So a sex club. Oh, bloody hell. And after all the sex stuff, you've got to go in and clean. And then they go, oh, yeah, you'd have thought it'd been horrible, wouldn't you? But actually, it's incredible. You go in there, the place is pristine. Absolutely pristine. They really take their cleanliness seriously in the sex club. I go in there, there's nothing to do. I say, hey, you've got to leave me something. I said that. You've got to leave me something to do. I got a bit more than I bargained for, actually. I think the sex club was open once the comedy had finished. And there were people, I think, sticking around who might have been attending the sex club. What kind of a conceit is that? What a weird way to get in the mood. Someone puts Barry White on the stereo and the partner says, never mind that, turn that off. If you want to see me, really go for it. If you want me really in the mood, get on YouTube and load up some Tim Vine. Oh, a few puns and how many ones. I've always been a sucker for wordplay, as you're about to find out. Once you've cleaned yourself first. Very strange. It was a very strange gig. I think there might have been a bit of drug use. There was just a lot of talking from the back. At one point, someone got up and started dancing. That was really odd. I just suddenly saw this movement in the corner of my eye, the tiny bit of sight that I had. Is that my eyes playing tricks on me? Because that sometimes happens. But I have to say, I said, have you just stood up and started dancing? He said, oh, yeah, I have. I don't know. Maybe she was booked. Maybe there was a bit of a double booking going on. Well, indeed, I think they like a bit of a double booking at the sex club. Oh, bloody hell. There's another one. I've been booked to do the comedy. She'd been booked as a burlesque dancer. Just a little rundown of my week. This is what my week looks like this week. DJ set in Manchester, folk festival in Manchester with the young'uns, doing a comedy gig in a sex club in Manchester, and earlier in the week, I was in Barnsley Library doing a songwriting project for primary school children. Ah, dear. Oh, well, before we go, I've got a question for you. There was a bird outside. Ellie and I want to know what this bird is. Oh, stop now. There we go. Just going to make a note of that to archive that for the best of at the end of the year. That little feature that we just did there at the end. What's that bird? Absolutely brilliant. We'll come back to that a little bit later on in the podcast because there is a bird outside. I could do an impression of it, I think. It goes... No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It's the Michael Jackson bird. It goes something like... It's not a pigeon. Well, it might be a pigeon, but it's not your traditional... And it's not your... of a pigeon. A cuckoo would go... So I don't know... Oh, I think it might be doing it now. Let's get the... Hang on, it's doing it now. Open the door again. There. Now, just to confuse things, there's a pigeon at the same time doing it. So there's two birds vying for attention, but I'm not interested in the pigeon. I want to know what the other bird is. Oh, it's bloody stopped now. You don't get this with David Attenborough. Now the bloody pigeon started again. Unless it is the same pigeon, but it just has two different calls. But it's not doing it now. No, that's a pigeon again. Anyway, we'll come back to it. It goes something like... I think it's doing it again. I've just shut the door and the bloody thing's doing it again. But as soon as I open the door... Now it's stopped again. Right. I'll leave it there. But if anyone knows what that bird might be, just based on my impression, let us know. Oh, and if anyone knows what a glory hole is, feel free to get in touch with us as well. Or how a sex swing works, because I have no idea how a sex swing works. I mean, what the heck are you doing? Are you lying on it? It can't just be where two people... You're not, like, slamming into each other's genitals, surely. I mean, what is... Oh, the bird might be doing it. Hang on. There. There. So it's one note. Goodness knows what my neighbours are thinking if they're in. Horatio's going to be like, what the bloody hell is he doing? It's kind of a C. Maybe in between a B and a C. But I don't know if it always sticks with that note. I think it wanders ever so slightly. There you go. There's something for everybody. 1 minute we're talking about sex clubs. The next, ornithological discussion. I mean, granted, the ornithological discussion was 1 minute and the sex club was a lot longer. But still... Okay, it's time for a new exciting game from the people who brought you What's That Biscuit and What's That Drink. Bring you What's in the Veg Box. Give a little movement or something, Ellie. Create some sound effects. We've been inspired by BBC Sheffield. Okay, so we get a veg box delivery every week or two from Regatha. Wonderful place. There is a cardboard box in front of us, replete with veg.
Okay,
so if you want to pause now, Olivia and Ben and co, then feel free to do that. Pause, have a little think what might be in the veg box, taking into account the season maybe, where we are, where we're living, Sheffield, that kind of thing. So yes, anyway, do that, and then we'll come back and we'll reveal all, and we'll tell you what's in the veg box.
Here is vegetable number
so I'm
one.
going to try...
You're going to try and guess.
Eddie is... She's handed me... That is... So I'll describe it. It's a thick, I would say cylindrical object, maybe. It's a leek.
It is a leek. Well done. It's a very chunky leek.
It's a very chunky leek.
That is almost as wide as my wrist.
My goodness, if you can imagine Ellie's wrist now, listeners.
Chunky leek. Okay, this one, you're going to put a hand in a bag.
Was obviously unmistakable mushrooms.
Yeah. Next up, here we go.
Okay, I have in my hand a courgette.
What about this?
Now, I think this is... Oh, no, I was going to say a collection of spring onions. This is... I have just bigged up this company. This is the tiniest bit of broccoli I've ever seen in my life.
Oh,
right, okay. That's fair enough. That's quite a bit there. Right.
But it is a special type of broccoli.
Is it purple sprouting broccoli?
Purple sprouting broccoli.
Oh, everyone's favourite broccoli. I don't want to be too controversial. Ellie has now handed me 3 carrots.
Yeah. I thought this might be trickier.
Well, this one. Now, this one.
Yeah.
You've handed me the curved ball here.
Yeah.
It does feel slightly like a curved ball. It is... Is that a pumpkin?
No.
It can't be a pumpkin.
No, I mean...
Butternut squash.
It's just a squash, it's not butternut.
Just a squash.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or a swede.
Which is, I believe, what No Doubt were going to call their song, but they thought, no, I'm just a girl. Much better than I'm just a squash. No one wants to hear a song from the perspective of a squash.
Okay, so this is half of this portion. Hand out, please. That way.
Oh, my goodness. Well, that's unmistakably onions.
Yeah. Hand out.
Oh, my goodness. I didn't expect that. That's quite a weighty object.
Yeah.
Is that a pumpkin?
That is a pumpkin.
Yeah.
It is an iron cap squash.
There you go.
So it looks like we're going to be having some soups made. Maybe we could have a lovely.
Oh yeah, we must get this. We must get the soups made. She hasn't worked for a while, but good to see her again.
And they come with a little recipe. So the recipe that they've given for today is roasted Jerusalem artichokes with potatoes, lemon and sage. Now, if we'd still got
If we'd have got some artichokes, that would be handy.
Yeah.
I'd rather often do that. They send us some veg and then give us a recipe that doesn't include any of the veg that we've got.
Well, it's because I've swapped from a potatoes veg box to a no potatoes, so we haven't got the artichokes.
And a bit of extra potato news for you there, listeners.
So new.
That you didn't expect.
But what happened as I was bringing it in, David?
Then one of our neighbours...
Oh,
What?
I know where I know her from. She's at Pilates with me.
Yes.
So, as I was opening the door to regather the old box and pick up the new one, a lady was walking by and just looking at our front window, and I have doodled some flowers on the front, and she thought that they were stickers that I'd bought from Etsy or something and put on. And I said, oh no, I've made them myself. And she's like, oh no, you're very creative, you can do that. I'll have to just get some stickers. I was like, well, you could just find pictures of things that you like and copy them.
This might have been asking, could you come and draw on my windows?
I mean, maybe I could.
I mean, imagine, not only are you drawing on your own doors and windows, but then you start to draw on other people's doors and windows and you get commissioned for doing that.
Yeah.
And that's where we earn our money. People will be like, you do a successful podcast, David. Is that where you get it?
Well, maybe if she's at Pilates tonight, I can offer to go around with my pens.
Oh, I mean, as long as you can remove what you've done. I'm not saying anything about you, the quality, but you just drawing on someone's window. Oh, my goodness. The BBC Sheffield woman will be having an orgasm here.
The door is building its part.
My goodness, it's really going for it, that door. My goodness. I'm not touching it. And it's... Sorry, I didn't realise I was still recording there. I've told you already, I'm not touching it. I've got to do a podcast.
I've just been to a youth drama production of Grease, which was excellent, and I'm just getting the tram home, and just to get to my stop and the door opens, I see a man scrabbling around on the floor and trying to reach between the tram and the platform, and I know exactly what's happened straight away. He is blind and his white cane has slipped between the gap of the tram and the platform. And it's a big enough gap for the cane with the ball on the end to fall through, but not quite big enough for a post-adolescent human arm to reach through to be able to grab it back. So I did have a little go, but I couldn't grab it. He couldn't reach it. The train didn't have a conductor, so the driver got out of her cab and she tried to reach it. No avail, because, you know, we're grown-ups. Our arms don't fit in those sorts of small gaps. So she was asking where he was going. He was going to the next stop. So I said, well, if you carry on, if you just get on the tram, I'll pick the cane up and I'll walk round and I'll drop it to you. And he's like, no, I can't put you out like that. I'm like, no, no problem. I'm quite happy to do it. It's not like it's far. No. And he was looking a bit worried and a bit panicked. And then we were sort of discussing how it'd be good to have something to push the cane with. The driver got a bottle of de-icer out of her cab and is then lying on the floor trying to push it through. Meanwhile, other people are getting off the tram because it's been there longer than it should have done. Here's the kitchen door. I didn't really need to announce that, did I? Because you know the noise of the door by now. I didn't have anything useful to use because I've got a packet of chicken thigh fillets that I was going to use for dinner. So that wouldn't have got us very far. There it is, going in the fridge. All of the audio stuff. So she's pushing along with this de-icer, getting the cane closer to the front of the tram. He's now kneeling down at the front of the tram and he manages to get it. So I haven't had to walk. All right, door, building your part. Bloody hell. I haven't had to walk further than I needed to. And he's got to where he needs to go with all of his access equipment with him. So that's good. But the weird thing was I was just catching up with last week's podcast and then this week's podcast. And as all this was going on, because I hadn't had time to sort of pause David in my ears, I've got David in the clip from Derby going, are there any other blind people in the room? And meanwhile, there's this man in distress. Bye.
So I have just returned from the hairdressers, from the barbers.
Yeah.
I went into the barbers that was not approved of by someone I asked for directions once. I asked for directions to the nearest barber because I knew there was a one pretty close.
Yeah.
And it got very political very quickly. I just thought, like, go straight down there, mate, turn left or something like that. But no, he said, you've got a choice. There's a barber's down there. It's about 30 seconds walk away. He says, but I would advise, walk another 3 minutes, cross a couple of roads there, walk another 3 minutes, and I'd recommend that one. And I said, all right, you go there. He says, oh, well, no, it's because, mate, he says, you see the barbers over there? They're foreign. I don't know who they are, what they are, but they're foreign. He says, but, you know, there's a English chap in the other place. If you want to get your hair cut there. And I said, oh, well, I don't really mind, to be honest. Oh, so you think it's all right, do you? You know, what's wrong with English barbers? And I said, oh, I'm sure there's nothing wrong with English barbers. It's just that this one's closer and it avoids me crossing roads and stuff.
Especially as someone who can't see.
And that's it. So he was kind of... But it was almost as if he was like, well, you should do the right thing, even if it means potential perilous road crossings.
Risking death.
You know, why did they come over here? You know, what? I was like, well, I don't know their individual story, obviously. Or I don't even know. We don't even know what nationality they are. You haven't even... And so we had a whole kind of discussion about it, which took even longer. So I thought, well, because I knew there's a barber's about 2 or 3 minutes from where we live. I'm thinking within half an hour I can probably get to the barber's. I'm now having a 5-minute discussion with him, and then the culmination of the 5 minutes discussion is that he reckons I should walk for another 3 minutes. And bearing in mind as well, then I've got to ask somebody where the barber's is. What happens if the next person I ask? I'm just literally outside the British barber. What happens if the next person I ask happens to be some very sort of pro-immigrant person? And so he's like, oh, I'd advise you, mate, that the guy over there, he's a bit of a right-wing nut job, to be honest. I'd advise you go to the lovely couple who run the barbers, and I'll be walking back and forth, just depending on political preference. Anyway, sorry.
The one that you were trying to get to that was just a couple of minutes away, is that the one you went to on our wedding day?
Oh, goodness. Did we not talk about that?
I can't remember.
I think we've talked. I don't know if we've talked about that. And if I can't remember, and we've done that many podcasts, listeners probably can't remember anyway.
That's fine. Let's revisit.
So we'll revisit that. So there's some eagle skin of gold. And before that, though, keep that on the back burner.
Yep.
But anyway, so we had this whole discussion about what's wrong with her, and he didn't seem happy with me that I was going to the other barber.
No.
And I said, well, do you even recommend the barber as like a good, you know?
Have you been?
And he says, I don't go to the hairdressers, mate. He says, I'm bald. And he essentially had accused me of taking work. Of taking work from a British barber. And I'm like, you're literally taking work from all hairdressers. How dare you be bald? And maybe it's the stress of just being bigoted that's made you bald, mate. Obviously, I didn't say all of this to him.
No.
It would have been an even more dangerous journey. Anyway, so yes, on our wedding day, I went to get my hair cut.
Now, I had been saying to you for about a month you needed to get a cut ready. And you were like, yes. And then, like, too many things had happened and you weren't able to go for
I had to say goodbye. I had to say goodbye to all my women.
Well, exactly.
You know, so I'm going to get married now. You know, we can't be doing this anymore. Olivia, you keep in contact on the podcast. Find yourself a husband.
Olivia alone.
Find yourself an husband. Settle down.
You leave her be. Anyway, so instead, what you did was the riskiest thing you could have done, which is go on the day of the wedding. So if it had been cut too short or a bit weird, you didn't have any grow out time.
No.
And actually, people have seen, because we shared that picture of our wedding day, so they've seen how short your hair was, and you came back looking like a 1950s footballer. Well, I wasn't expecting it, and I was like, bloody hell, David.
But then... So when he found out that it was my wedding day, so it's a lovely Turkish barber.
Yeah.
When he found out that it was my wedding day, he says, and you are happy. You are happy. And I'm like, yes, you are happy with your choice. With the choice that you have made, yes? You're happy. And I was like, this is really odd, because he's sort of taken it upon himself to be counsellors.
Yeah.
I'm like, not only are you stealing jobs from British hairdressers, but now you're trying to steal jobs from therapists and counsellors as well. These people, I think this bloke is right, to be honest. He's got a point. And then, when I assured him that I was happy, he said, well, my friend, he says, you enjoy your day, and then tonight you'll make her a very lucky woman. Yes? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, do you know what I mean? He said, do you know what I mean? Because I hadn't reacted with the way that he wanted me to react. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, yes, I think so. I wanted to make sure I said yes, because if I showed any hesitation, he might have gone into detail.
The one, when we went to London and you needed a haircut and you went in, and I ended up looking after somebody's child.
Yeah.
And then, because I've got multicoloured hair, the hairdresser was like, do you want me to fix that for you? And I was like, no, I'm all right. He's like, I can make it look a lot better. Like, oh, okay, no, I'm...
Trash talked by a hairdresser.
It's like, I can
and he wasn't British either.
No.
I think these people, they're really combative. They really Usually, in Britain it would just be like, have you been anywhere nice on your holidays? Not these people. It's like they're just...
Your hair's shit.
They're heckling people. Hairculling, they call it in the trade.
Oh, lovely. Yes.
This is what they are sort of doing, hair culling. In a way, aren't they? Oh,
the other one, when we went to...
so many hairdresser stories.
I know, I didn't think we had
Who'd have
so
thought?
many, but we do. I was just thinking about the time that I took you to the Barbers in Morrison's that you didn't know about. So I dropped you off and went and did the shop. And when I came back, you were getting your hair cut, and there was this woman sat there, old woman, who was waiting for her grandson to be done. She as you got up, she went, "Oh, he looks a lot better now, doesn't he?" He looked a right state before.
Dishevelled hair. Anyone would think it's part of some comedy act, the way that he's carrying on.
Because sometimes, if you've left it a while between cuts, and also if your beard's grown quite a bit, you do verge on looking homeless. Not fully, but I think she thought you were. And then the look on her face when I got up to sort of meet you and guide you out, because she hadn't realised that you were blind, and she hadn't realised that I was with you. She was like, "Oh shit, I shouldn't have said that."
I've been heckled again in the hairdressers. We're just being heckled by hairdressers and their proprietors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think I go through stages of I don't really have a look, I suppose, I don't think, because I go through stages
Other than devilishly handsome.
My goodness. We'll leave it there, I think, listeners, for today. I've had to make someone a very lucky woman.
Oh, dear. You met my hairdresser.
What?
On my hairdresser.
My
So
goodness.
I do most of my own hair because it's cheaper and I know what I want to do. You were on the tram and lots of old people tend to talk to you. Said something else.
Start telling me all these jokes and stuff.
Did he know you were a comedian?
No,
at that
he
point?
just started telling me jokes that he'd written himself.
Yeah, and I said, "Can I just check? Did you get his name? And was it Elton?" And you were like, "How the bloody hell?" Do you know
because
that?
he'd also, I think the other clue was the fact that he had told me he'd written a play.
Oh,
or something.
right.
He'd written some sort of play or something like that.
Is that the one about Sheffield Wednesday?
Yeah, something like that. So he'd written a play. He was telling me all about that. He'd written all these jokes.
But what I quite enjoy at his hairdressers, it's a very, very eccentric place. And you go in and it's a bit of a mess. And I don't think many people could cope with it, but I find it quite entertaining. And he doesn't have the radio on because he doesn't pay PRS.
Well, this links... I'll let you finish. Of course, Ellie. But...
Of course, you very rarely do, but carry on. We'll loop back to you in a second. So he buys...
Hang on. I need to just...
Okay, yeah.
Yes, music.
Yeah.
Music in the hairdressers, that's what I need to remember.
Okay, music in the hairdressers. So he doesn't have radio or anything on because he doesn't pay the PRS. But what he does instead is goes to gigs and buys people's albums and then plays them and tells people what it is. He's like, well, I think it's better to buy the album from a person so they definitely get that money. And then I tell other people so they like it and they'll probably buy it. He also offers you cheese toasties and things and gives you opportunities to make art because he's got all these pictures he's printed out and he uses...
The subtitle is Make Art.
Make art.
Is what she said there, just in case you're thinking, I said, got a bit lascivious now. Cheese toasty, he's going to take more than that for you to start kissing me, my friend.
And then, so he's got these prints.
Hardly the right thing to be giving someone if you're trying to kiss them is a cheese toasty, really, is it?
No. And then he's got these 8x4 pictures that he prints out and he uses some of the dyes to make interesting art. So he's an interesting guy, is Elton. But tell me about music and hairdressers.
In this particular hairdresser that I went to today, very quickly, I know I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but it was 2016. Exactly the same kind of conversation when I asked for a hairdresser and he said, "Oh, you don't want to go to that one, mate. That's an Asian hairdresser." And I don't know if he was being racist or if he meant that they specialise in Asian hair. Because I didn't realise that obviously there's different types of hair, isn't there?
No, because you've never seen them. And you don't really go around touching people's heads.
So maybe he meant... Well, I've not done that since just the night before our wedding day. I made a pact to you, as you know. Yeah, so I don't know if that's what he meant. Because obviously they might have just meant, there's loads of, say Asian hair. They can't be a specific Asian hair. But, like a style of hair or whatever. Yeah. So maybe it's like, there's literally no white people in there and that's not what they specialise in.
Right.
I don't know if that's what he meant or if he was just literally, you don't want to go in there. And,
full of Asians.
But I'd have thought it was the perfect place to have gone because I was looking for an hairdo. It sounds like hairdo.
Yeah, thanks for explaining it. Didn't need to explain
And
it.
then the next bit of the little joke is they do like their wordplay in India. That's why they call it the Punjab. Anyway,
Idiot.
so then the music and the hairdressers.
Yeah.
I just find music choices in general quite odd in public places.
Yes.
I think you go to a restaurant sometimes and the food is absolutely brilliant and then it's just ruined by the wrong atmosphere, the wrong ambience. There are certain types of music that you just don't ever need when you're eating. And I think hip-hop is a big one. Hip-hop, grime, drill. Don't want that in a dentist.
No. Did we talk about the music that Mum and I experienced?
When you went to Middlesbrough, when we were doing the Big Borough Bash, the Young'uns 20th year celebrations in Middlesbrough.
I forgot to reserve anywhere to eat, so Mum and I were wandering around looking for something. And I like African food, and she's not tried much. There was this, I think, a Nigerian restaurant. So we went in there, and the music was up so loud as well, because there were no customers in. It was just the people who worked there. And the music was so loud that you could barely sort of think. But it was very, very hardcore rap with a lot of swearing and a lot of racial slurs in.
Yeah.
So we're sat...
It says, well, you say racial slurs, but these are people who
There would
are
be racial
saying
slurs
it, so there won't be racial slurs to them.
No, but if I was to say it to someone...
Which I find really interesting, because people say, the N-word.
Yes.
I find it an odd one, because obviously, like, it's said in hip-hop. You know, like there's NWA. But you'd have to say NWA because it'd be weird for us to... But then it's all over hip-hop. It's all over hip-hop. But it's being used by them, and the music is literally blasting in our faces. And yet we kind of go, the N-word, you know, like... But they're literally blasting it in your... It's the same thing tonight. Today. It was the same thing today.
Yeah.
It's really strange.
I mean, I think I did make a little recording of it at the time because I didn't think that you would believe what it's... But also... Like,
did you make a recording?
I made a little recording. I don't know if I've ever given it to you. I don't know if we can play it on the podcast. Well, I don't know what quality of recording it is.
Well, I don't think,
anyway...
the audio, the fidelity for the listeners. I want to hear my N-words in stereophonic sound.
Especially, like, considering that Mum is in her 70s and a very white lady.
Yeah.
And
she shot the N-word as Nana.
And also, what was then slightly more awkward is that, so we'd gone in with Marilla, other people that we knew from Sheffield folk scene had spotted it and had come in. So we ended up having to ask them to turn the music down a little bit so that we could read, because the music was so loud we couldn't read properly.
Read the menu.
Yeah, read the menu. I think they swapped over to a different playlist that was slightly less aggressive rap.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting.
But why? Why would you ever want that kind of music in an eating place? I just don't think it's conducive.
Well, I think if they normally have a group of people who go in there and they're their friends and stuff, and that's what they listen to.
But it's
that's
not eating music, surely. I like all sorts of music, but there's a time and a place for certain types of things. I don't think it's conducive to eating that kind of music.
So when I ran a cafe, I was in charge of the music, so I had some control over what people were listening to, and I did mix it up on different days. So on Wednesday we had a drag race themed day, so we would do... Don't you do that?
No,
noise?
because it'd be too flamboyant.
But it was
I don't
all right.
I don't want to be
super
eating
loud.
while I'm hearing "oh biatch" and "oh whatever they say." "Oh sister, oh biatch," you know, and all that. That's my impression of a drag act. Pom pom nipples. Okay, biatch. Who wants to see my pom pom nipples?
But I also... Oh, God. I would also play things like Madeleine Peru and Caro Emerald and Pink Martini and stuff that felt a bit more like a cafe vibe.
Yeah. I think often music without lyrics is good for when you're not eating.
Yes, because then you have a chance...
Good for when you're eating.
Then you have a chance to sort of discuss between you.
Yeah. But you can't do that with this music that was playing in the hairdresser, because the problem was, as well, he had a very thick accent, I don't know what it was, and he was trying to talk to me, but I couldn't understand what he was saying because of the accent, but also because there was really loud music just going, and it was English, but I just don't know what he was saying. I mean, I do know one of the things that were being said, which I just couldn't believe. It's really odd when someone's just there cutting your hair and you're suddenly just being aware of what this song is saying. And it's 2:00 in the afternoon 2:00 in the afternoon, and I've got this song which is sick, goes, "Ooh, that pussy to die for. Ooh, that pussy to die for." I mean, it wasn't quite as camp as that. I've done the ooh, it was like, "Ooh, that pussy to die for. Ooh, that pussy to die." I don't think what pussy is as well. It was that pussy to die for. Ooh, that pussy to die for. I did a little bit camper than it was. Ooh, that pussy to die for. Ooh, Pom Pom Nibbles is back again. I just couldn't believe it. But it's like, isn't anybody else in here thinking this is weird? Is it because they haven't got English as their first language? They're not even necessarily aware that this thing is shouting, "Ooh, that pussy to die for." Ooh, that, you know. It was all very auto-tuned.
Oh, yeah.
And it was actually, I don't think it was that kind of, ooh, that, but it was more like, "Oh, that pussy to die for. Oh, that pussy to die for."
So they weren't even that excited.
So they were sort of like doing it in this kind of, as if I'm not, that pussy. It's like, if the pussy is to die for, at least give it a little bit of oomph, as it were. I don't mean the pussy. I mean the be enthusiastic about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the kind of phrase that I would say.
Except you've said it about 1,000 times.
In context.
Yeah.
But then it got me thinking, like, I wonder what the sample would like, what the vocal would sound like if you took away the auto-tune.
Right.
Because at least the auto-tune, it sounds ridiculous, but at least it gives it a tiny bit of credibility. Without it, it's just this bloke without the auto-tune, just be, "Oh, that pussy to die for. Oh, that pussy to die for." Just so weird. Anyway.
This is not how I thought my afternoon was going to go.
It was a hairdressing song, maybe, and it was just talking about dye, as in, hair dye,
colour.
maybe. So maybe it's just someone, it's about having a vajazzle, and it's actually a bit of product placement. Maybe that's what they do. "Oh, that pussy to die for." But then it was so boring, the music as well. Apart from the lyrics, I mean, the actual style of music was so boring. It was just like, it's just constant. There's two notes. So then there was one bit that suddenly the next thing came on, and it suddenly was going. And there's all these different sounds and stuff, and like this weird percussion build-up, and it's quite tribal. And I was thinking, my goodness, like we've had 6 boring songs in a row or whatever, and now all of a sudden we've got this. My goodness, I'm actually wanting to know what this song is now, but it feels a bit weird. I can't really Shazam it while I'm here. Anyway, it turns out it suddenly just stopped. I think it was just an advert. It was like the most interesting thing was just some music for an advert. And that's the other weird thing, actually. The adverts just kept coming on every other song. And it's suddenly really loud. I think it was like an advert for a 3D printer. And it was a really long advert for about 2 minutes. The 3D printer Max can do this and whatever. You know, it was describing, I don't know what a 3D printer would do.
You doing an audition for some 3D printer.
I could do that's my voiceover.
I would also like to point out for the listeners at home that as you were doing the exciting bit of music, you were doing a lot of arm movements and physical.
You don't know what I was doing for all that pussy to die for. Oh my goodness me.
At some point, you're going to have to just get all of the me going bloody hell and sighing at things you say and mix that into something as well.
Maybe we could auto-tune it.
Make me sound like Jimmy Savile.
Well, that's a weird one, actually.
Oh, God.
I've just been booked to do
a Jimmy Savile tribute act.
I was once booked to do support for a Roy Chubby Brown tribute act.
Yeah.
And I accepted it because I thought this is too good to pass off.
Yeah,
because I need to know what this is going to be like and what the audience is going to be like. The Roy Chubby Brown tribute act. Because I sort of thought when I go on, the audience is going to start chanting, "You blind bastard! You blind bastard!" And I realised that we've got some hairdressers in tonight, have we? But then it didn't happen in the end, the gig. I was intrigued by it, but what I was also intrigued about it was the person who booked me said, "I've heard brilliant things, you come highly recommended." And I thought, if someone's booking a Roy Chubby Brown tribute act, I'm not sure if I want to be the kind of person that they would think of as the perfect warm-up. I really need to look at what I'm doing. Anyway, so I'm trying
Well, they heard all you talk about getting an English barber.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's our man.
So it was a very strange thing, and it was just really odd to have an advert as well. And I just find it really odd. Then that happens a lot in restaurants now.
Yeah.
Where you're just in the middle. So not only do you have this kind of like inappropriate music play, but then you have adverts shouting in your face as well. And it's like, what happened to the concept of ambience? You know, you want to kind of cultivate an experience. You wouldn't want to be eating while having that, ooh, that pussy to die for. I don't know what the song was. I mean, I would look it up, but I don't really want to Google, oh, that pussy to die for. Also, for the subtitlers, I said look it up. I don't want anyone who's seen this, saw pussy, and then misunderstood look it up. So, my goodness, we don't want any deaf perverts.
Did we want to, whilst we're here, do the comments that we missed from last week?
No, I think we do that on a different day.
Okay.
Oh, we definitely do that on a different day. My goodness, otherwise...
I mean, I've also had a message from Mum.
Oh!
Yeah.
Brilliant. We'll come back to all of that, listeners, a little bit later on. I was doing a gig in Birmingham last night, and I was chatting to the owner of the pub. He says his sister used to go out with Jasper Carrott. He said, oh, this is before he was famous. And he said, actually, the reason my sister broke up with him is because at this point he wasn't a comedian, you see. He was just a layabout. This was when he was a folk singer. You know, he was just a folk singer. A layabout folk singer, that's all he was. And she just said, you know, he doesn't have any prospects. I'm getting rid of him. I can't go out with a layabout folk singer. This guy told me this with no knowledge of the fact that I was a folk singer. Maybe that was the impetus that he needed, you know, to become less of a layabout folk singer and more of a comedian. You know, maybe her rebuttal was the very thing that led him to where he is now. Because I often... So I'm sorry, I'm Olivia. I'm doing it now. See, it's not just when I go further down south that I change my accent. It's when I'm aware that the demographic is changing. We have quite a few southern commenters on the podcast, so now my accent is changing to reflect that, you see. I can't remember what I was going to say now, but the subtitlers are thinking, oh, this is a poignant story about him being an orphan. It's getting quite confusing. You know, I imagine now the producer is feeding in some music from Oliver. What was I saying? I can't really remember. Doesn't really matter because you're drinking. You'll be completely drunk by now. Oh yes, I often think that with stories where you go, that person said I would never amount to this thing, or what, and they told me that I wasn't good enough to be this thing, and I wanted to prove them wrong, and so that's why I'm successful. So in some ways, you could argue that if these people were really encouraging, they might have never actually gone on to be massively successful. And so in some ways, they actually owe their success to the person who gave them a kick up the arse and said, you'll never amount to anything. For instance, I went to college with somebody whose dad was in the band with the guitarist from Iron Maiden, who comes from Hartlepool. Let me just verify that with our fact-checking hub here. Google, which member of Iron Maiden comes from Hartlepool?
According to Simple Wikipedia, Janik Robert Gers is an English guitarist. He currently plays for the heavy metal band Iron Maiden, where he is one of 3 guitarists along with Dave Murray and Adrian Smith.
Right, but does he come from Hartlepool? Simple Wikipedia. Well, you're right, it's really Simple Wikipedia, because you've not actually answered the bloody question. What the hell is Simple Wikipedia? Simple Wikipedia? I've never heard of it. Now I'm going to have to ask what Simple Wikipedia is. Google, what is Simple Wikipedia?
According to Wikipedia, the Simple English Wikipedia is a modified English language edition of Wikipedia written primarily in Basic English and Learning English.
Oh, how dare you!
10 Wikipedias written in an Anglic language or English Pidgin or Creole.
Dare you? Oh, I've put this into Simple English for you, David. That's another example of technology bullying me. We'll put this into Simple English for you, I think. No big words for you, David. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, guitarist. He was in a band, the dad of my friend at college, and the guitarist in the band was given the sack by everybody else in the band because apparently he wasn't any good. That guy went on to become the guitarist, or one of the guitarists, there's 3 apparently, one of the guitarists in Iron Maiden. But my friend reckons that, you know, what happened was he couldn't believe that he was sacked from the band. And he just thought, I've got to practice. And he practiced and he's practiced. And then, ironically, the other people in the band, they're not musicians, you know, they don't work professionally as musicians. The guitarist is the only person in the band who's now a professional musician with an internationally recognised band. Simple Wikipedia. What words and what ideas does normal Wikipedia want to use, or indeed does use, when it comes to the Iron Maiden article that people go, no, this is going to be a bit too advanced for simple people, or for people who don't have English as their first language. We need to simplify this. This is going to go over people's heads. It's not like I'm asking about quadratic equations. We're a brilliant band with a bass player from Darlington, I believe. I mean, I would Wikipedia that, but I don't want to be patronised by Google again. But yeah, I can't see what is so advanced about the original Iron Maiden article that for some reason there has to be a simplified version of it. I could understand it if it was like some sort of advanced maths thing or some scientific concept. I think it's very odd that the word monosyllabic. I was just thinking about not having big words. And I was thinking monosyllabic seems a needlessly long word for what it is. Like if someone says, oh, my English is not very good, so please do not use big words. And then someone says, oh yes, don't you worry, I'll try and keep things monosyllabic for you. So, you know, you could kind of go, those idiots in that band in Hartlepool, you know, they sacked him. They said he wasn't good enough, and he went on to be the guitarist in Iron Maiden. But then you could argue that if they hadn't sacked him, he'd have just plodded along in that band. He might have not practiced because he wouldn't have been snubbed by the band. He'd have just plodded along, wouldn't have put any effort in, and that would have been the end, and they would have all gone to do whatever jobs they all did. You know, if he's really lazy, he might have become a folk singer. Oh my goodness me. There it is. There had to be one! Exclamation. And I nearly stopped the recording there. I thought I was done. Take another drink. You see, it has been, I think, quite a sweary podcast, quite a profane podcast, which is not my fault, in fairness. It wasn't my fault there was a thing in the hairdressers playing a song that went, ooh, that pussy to die for. It's not my fault that I did a gig in a sex club, but you see how unprofane I am generally as a person. Because, you know, I drop something, it gives me a shock. I generally will go for a, oh my goodness, or a, oh my goodness me. And now and again, I might go for a bloody hell. But really, it takes a lot to get a fuck out of me. Anyway, I'm probably revealing a bit too much there. I'm just thinking about bands and encouragement or lack of from band members. And I'm thinking when we first started out as a band, as the young'uns, my layabout folk group, I have actually done something with my life. I've become a comedian. So, you know, the other two, layabout folk singers. But, you know, well, I say that, Michael is now a teacher. Bloody hell, there's a lot of pans and things here. But Michael was writing, when we first got a website, this would have been right back in the early days, 2003 or something, 2004. Michael was writing the biogs for the website. And of course, he wrote, in fairness, he wrote a pretty good one for me. And I think I maybe contributed something and said what I'd got. And it was all very formally written. It was kind of like, David has grade 8, keyboard, and various things that I'd done musically. Michael's was all about his guitar grades and that kind of thing. And then Michael had written one for Sean. It might have only been one line long. It might have even just been this sentence. I really don't remember anything more about it. And the reason is because the first line, which like I said may have been the entire thing, but the first sentence was just absolutely ridiculous. And it was obvious, I think, just from this sentence, that Michael would, a few years later, become a teacher. Because he wrote it like he was writing a school report when it came to Sean. So Sean doesn't have any music qualifications or anything like that. In fact, Sean's music teacher at secondary school said in his school report, Sean knows his limitations. And that's why he became a folk singer. But Michael, and this wasn't done in a jokey way, Michael wrote this thinking this was absolutely fine, a normal thing for another band member to write. You know, you've got a few paragraphs on Michael and all of his qualifications, you've got a few paragraphs on me and what I've done, and then Sean's simply said, Sean Cooney has an admirable level of enthusiasm. Michael would have been about 18 or 19 at the time. Sean Cooney has an admirable level of enthusiasm. Yeah, so we hadn't released any albums at this point, but obviously this is a website that Michael is setting up for the band. Oh, we weren't really doing any live gigs either at this point as well. We hadn't been booked to do any live gigs, but we did used to go to folk clubs in the area. And so Michael would it said tour dates or something, and you'd click on it, and it just had the various folk clubs that we'd be going to. It was just a sing-around at a folk club. We would just maybe get up and sing one song. But we put it on our website. We didn't charge tickets or anything. That would have been a bit much. But because we haven't got any albums, Michael thought, well, we can't have a website. We're not having a discography. So he put I'm sure he probably called it discography as well. He could have just said albums, but Michael being Michael, he would have gone for discography just to make it even more pretentious. And when you clicked on it, he created fictional albums that we hadn't even got. Well, I mean, you know what fictional means. Sorry, I do apologise there. I was just describing what fictional meant. I'm doing this for the simple Wikipedia article. Oh, God, I hope it's not. Do you think it's because he kind of heard me mention Hartlepool? Because he didn't answer the question about Hartlepool. So maybe it thought I said, I'm from Hartlepool. Tell me about Iron Maiden. It went, oh, he's from Hartlepool. Simple Wikipedia for this one. So the albums were ridiculous. We had a couple that were called Live Volume 1 and Live Volume 2. That didn't exist, obviously. And then there was another one called Islands. And he'd done like clip art as well. He just got a clip art thing of an island. The Young'uns, Islands. Very odd. I have dried the final Le Creuset. Is that how you pronounce it? Le Creuset, Le Creuset? Oh, there's another bloody Le Creuset. I don't know how many Le Creusets we have. We might have 3 Le Creusets. There's only 2 of us in the house. There's more Le Creusets than there are people. We're a 3 Le Creuset household. Oh yes, things are going well for us, you know, and here's me, a layabout folk singer. I dreamed of this moment, I thought, you work hard, David. Don't just be a folk singer, you need to move into the world of comedy, tour in the sex clubs of England, and eventually you will become a 3 Le Creuset household. I had to start out in comedy right at the bottom, performing at open mic nights, in rowdy pubs, to disinterested people, or going to gong shows where audience members were given red cards, and if a red card was held up, it would dismiss you from the stage, and a loud gong would sound near my ear. And when I heard that gong, I heard the sound of the iron, and that spurred me on. I thought, I've been dismissed from the stage, but I will come back and fight again, because that sound of ringing metal reminded me of why I was here. The sound that a Le Creuset might make if you bang it. I mean, it doesn't actually make a sound anything like a gong, but I didn't know that at the time because I didn't own a Le Creuset. It's a much hollower sound. But how was I to know? But eventually, a couple of years down the line, people started to book me. And I remembered when I started making money, I put a little bit away each time. Other comedians were going out drinking, taking drugs. Not me, because I had my eye on the prize. And that prize, of course, was a Le Creuset. And I remember that first Le Creuset. I'm not going to talk about it. You might think, please, David, tell us more. Tell us more about that experience. I'm not going to talk about the experience. Words would only sully the experience of that first Le Creuset. You never forget your first Le Creuset. But of course, I wasn't satisfied. I'd given myself a goal to become a 3 Le Creuset household. But then, of course, a lucrative opportunity came my way. Would you like to tour, David, the Somerset Village Hall circuit? So I left home. I performed to confused Somerset pensioners who told me that they couldn't understand a word I was saying because I was too northern. But I wasn't doing it for them. I was doing it for that second Le Creuset. And sure enough, it wasn't long before that second Le Creuset fell into my lap. It was actually quite painful. It was a rather awkward injury, actually. Yes, it would have been a while before you would have got a fuck out of me then. But I didn't care about that. Who needs sex when you've got a Le Creuset? And then came the call from BBC Radio 4, my own comedy series. And when I heard that news, I turned to Ellie, and the first thing I said was, 3rd Le Creuset. Fortunately, enough time had passed for my groin injury to recover, and we celebrated that 3rd Le Creuset in style that night, with a passion and a fervour never seen by us before, or since. I mean, when I think about it, I can't believe that I forgot that we were a 3 Le Creuset household. Because now it's all coming back to me. There we go. By the way, I hope you still think I'm a man of the people. You know, there'll be people from Hartlepool going, my goodness, you've married a southerner. You're talking about Le Creuset's and your southern poncy ways. You drop a tray in the sink and you say, oh my goodness me. What have you become, David? You all right?
Yes.
What are you laughing at?
You've had a long chat with yourself.
Well, myself, Olivia's here.
Meanwhile, I had a little message from a 10-year-old boy saying, I am very excited.
Right.
And I said, what activity... Okay,
Hang on,
so
this
we
is
should explain.
your nephew,
My
I
nephew
assume.
is coming to stay with us this weekend. And I said, what activities would you like to do? He said, all of them. I did say, we can see if you can play air hockey against David. And he went, yes.
Wonderful. So maybe we could put that on the podcast.
Yeah.
A live air hockey tournament with a 10-year-old.
Yes.
Excellent.
Who'd also like to do bowling with you? We can put the sides up so you're not just in the gutter the whole time.
I've been accused of being in the gutter many a time. I've read the reviews.
I've suggested the National Video Game Museum to him, but maybe not to do with you.
Nothing to do with me. I don't think that one.
I don't think you can really place on it.
I do remember the old music, though, from the old Sega days when my brothers used to play. Ma ba 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 ba. And then there was the one when you were drowning. Oh, yeah. There was the ones... How did that go? I found that quite scary.
I found it really scary.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, I remember that. You might as well jump. Go ahead and jump. It's live mashing up here, everybody. It's a shame we didn't find this in time for the DJ set.
Oh.
Jump! I feel good. Nothing gets me down. So I remember that, yeah. But what's the do?
On different levels.
The girls go by. My, oh my. Ooh. And there's nothing girls, the girls go by. Is this drowning?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There.
Somebody's put in the comments on YouTube, to be fair to Sega, they have captured the I can't breathe, I need air now in music form.
Definitely. Yeah. We've covered quite a lot, from Iron Maiden to Iron Pans to Sonic the Hedgehog. Well, anyway,
we should make some dinner, mate, because it's...
we've got 3 Le Creusiers, and we've not made anything in them yet.
3? We've got like 7, mate.
What?
Yeah.
We haven't got 7 Le Creusiers.
Yeah, we've got 2 of those ones that you've just washed up one of. We've got a wider one that I do the focaccia in. And
all right, steady on. I'll focaccia to you too.
We've got those. We've got one for doing bread in, and then we've got 3 saucepan ones.
Oh my goodness.
So that's actually 8. Oh, and then we've got a griddle pan. That's 9.
You're the eating classic. Hang on, griddle.
Yeah, it's made
Griddle's not Le Creusier.
Yes, it is. It's made by Le Creuset.
Is it?
Yeah, a griddle frying pan as well.
So we got 10 Le Creusiers. My goodness, what a revelation. Just as I was about to stop recording there, we've gone from 3, and I imagine people would have been like, my goodness, the people at Hartlepool I won't be allowed back in. I won't be allowed back in. I'll be deleted off simple Wikipedia, because no one will need to see my entry.
David Eagle, you know our butter dish?
Oh.
That is also a Le Creuset.
Is it?
Yeah.
11 Le Creusiers.
But that one is...
I wouldn't class it. I thought Le Creusiers had to be the pans.
No, well, it's the make, isn't it?
You can't have it. You can't have a butter dish.
It's made by Le Creuset. Oh, and the spoon rest.
Oh, spoon rest.
Yeah, because they do ceramics as well.
Yeah, but
So
if you
can
say,
get
I
plates.
have a Le Creusier, you're using Le Creusier as a noun, as the pan.
Yeah.
You can't start putting spoon
All right,
rests
we've
and
got-
butter dishes in
Fine,
there.
Well,
My
I'm
goodness.
just saying, we've got 10 pans plus 2 additionals.
Okay. Listeners, feel free. How many Le Creusiers do you have? That's the text in.
Also, I don't know if we need to state, but they were all bought for us.
Oh, yeah.
Essentially, because...
By the David Eagle podcast listenership. So if you'd like to buy us, Olivia, to say thank you, a Le Creusier, then feel free.
The first one was bought... You'd suggest it as a Christmas
Oh, we're not doing
present.
Le Creusiers of our lives.
We should
here.
do. But you were going to get it for me as a Christmas present. And
Oh, yeah, because I know.
Your dad and stepmum stole that idea, and instead you had to propose.
Ah, yes, it was. She's quite right. It was going to be a Le Creusier for Christmas, and then I had to propose instead because that present had already been done. You mentioned the neighbour who enjoyed your window drawings, and then you realised you knew her from Pilates. You have been in Pilates this evening. You have seen Jacqueline, and there is some window drawing news.
Well, I said after she'd left, you'd said I should have just offered to draw on the window for her. So I said that, and she was like, oh, no, I'll have to pay you for it. I said I could just come and draw on your windows. So we have exchanged numbers, and we're going to arrange a time for me to go and doodle in somebody else's house.
My goodness, there we go. So, Ellie, the way things are going, she may become a professional doodler. You know, she might insist that she gives you a little something, then she recommends you on social media, and before you know it, you've become a professional doodler.
The other thing was I was saying that after we brought the veg in, we'd played Guess the Veg. And
well, she'll definitely be listening, I would imagine.
Well, I said that the way it worked is I just handed you some and you guessed. And the others were a bit confused. They were like, was he blindfolded or something? And I said, oh, no, he is actually blind.
Yeah, I suppose that's one of the fun things of being blind. You can just, there doesn't need to be any apparatus or anything like that to be able to play games like Guess the Veg. I know you, which is not what could be said at the sex club. They do like their apparatus. Although playing a game of Guess the Veg, I'm not entirely sure what that would consist of, and I don't like the sound of it. If I'm in a sex club and someone says, hey, do you want to play a game of Guess the Veg? I'm like, I think I'll leave it, thank you very much. Hey, there's not much room inside. He says, I think they'll find there is. Got a fun guy inside of you. Talking of the sex club, I do have a quick sex club update, because I forgot, actually, when I was recording this, that I had 2 bookings at the comedy club that takes place in the Manchester Sex Club, but I was also booked again to do one on Good Friday, but that has been cancelled. I'm quite relieved, actually, because it was already, there was a lot going on apparatus-wise. I think a Good Friday special is maybe not what you want for a sex club. You know, like maybe you get a special discount if you're well hung. I don't know. Anyway, we move away from sex to the world of biscuits. Seamlessly.
Okay, biscuits.
Okay, well, before you do it, we had one comment who also joined in on Olivia's biscuit challenge. So, my goodness, Olivia, you didn't just get me and Ellie guessing, you also got Ben, who messaged in as well. He thought it was a lemon cream puff.
Ooh.
Which he remembers having at his nana's. That's his guess.
Okay.
Just to remind you, Ellie thought it was a jammy dodger, and I thought it was a crunch cream.
Yeah. So we've got 2 parts of biscuit news from Olivia.
Okay, shall we recap the first bit, which was where she said her 4-year-old daughter went in to her and asked for a
circular custard cream.
A circular custard cream. We were trying to work out what the biscuit was. They were our guesses. So where do we head to, Ellie?
She says, I'm very impressed with all your guesses on which biscuit my daughter was asking for. Small children are very literal, so a custard cream circle biscuit is literally a custard cream, famously non-circular, in a circle shape. So your guess of a Fox's Golden Crunch cream was absolutely right.
I think crunch creams, though, are nicer than custard creams. The biscuit is different.
Yes. So you can have a guess at a Grandad biscuit, if you like. This is much harder and no clues to give away the identity unless you happen to know her father-in-law.
Well, that's it.
Yeah. What is a Grandad biscuit?
What's a Grandad biscuit?
I was thinking about this when I read it. There's a particular type of biscuit that we always had at Nan and Grandad's in Birmingham. Our Nan and Grandad biscuits were Pink Panther wafers, because that's the only place we ever had them.
Pink Panther wafers? I've not
well,
come
they're
across
pink
them.
wafers, but I think we just called them Pink Panthers.
Oh, right, okay.
Thinking about it, I don't think they're actually called that. But yeah, they're pink wafers, and we only ever had them when we went to visit grandparents in Birmingham.
I know what you mean.
Whereas, if we went to Oxford to my grandmother, she had a box of broken biscuits. So that would be lots of different types, but there were always broken ones. And then my dad continued to buy broken biscuits. What biscuits did you have at your grandparents'?
I don't have a biscuit memory from Nana or Grandad's.
The other thought for me for a Grandad biscuit would be something like a Garibaldi.
Yeah.
I think that's what it might be.
I'm putting Ben forward. He's very welcome, by the way, to correct me and add a different guess. But I'm putting you forward again. I'm entering your lemon puff.
Ooh. I mean, that does... Oh, God.
Oh, there you go. If you fancy coming to the sex club with me, Ben. I'm entering your lemon puff back in to the biscuit challenge.
Okay.
Okay, but you're very well going to have another guess as well.
So
on top
any
of
other
that.
listeners who want to join in with What's That Biscuit, you can email the David Eagle podcast at gmail.com.
Or you can get in touch with us via the socials at the David Eagle.
What about like a malted milk?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a grandad biscuit, isn't it?
That's a good shout.
The other section says, right, biscuits, shout out to my sister Georgia. Georgia listens to the podcast now, as she says I'm basically a special guest and finds it hilarious. To prove you have more listeners than just me, Georgia's comment this week was, great episode. I'm with Ellie on the Bourbons, best biscuit. Thank you, Georgia.
Welcome. Welcome to the party, Georgia. I like the idea that Olivia and Georgia didn't used to be particularly close. And now, maybe they fought quite a lot as children and they've never really been able to get on. But this is the one uniting thing. And maybe her sister was just about to say, oh, Olivia, for goodness sake, will you turn that thing off? And then all of a sudden she heard the biscuit talk and she's like, what is it? What are you listening to? And Olivia was about to give some sort of sarcastic comment, but she saw something in George's eyes that she's not seen before. Genuine interest in what she was doing. And so Olivia says, tentatively, because she's used to Georgia just about to snap her hand off yet again. She's used to it. She says, oh, it's the David Eagle podcast. Oh, I must give it a listen. Ooh, dare I suggest, thinks Olivia, why don't we give it a little listen together? They start to listen, and as they laugh, all of their childhood grievances and traumas evaporate. So that's what I like to imagine. Not that I want either of you to have had a traumatic childhood, but wouldn't that be a beautiful thing? But I'm sure that's not the case. But anyway...
Glad you corrected yourself on World Book Day. That was something else I forgot to do last week. She forgot to correct you. But that was my fault.
Yes, because Ellie told me it was National Book Day and International Women's Day. I knew that it was World Book Day, but I listened to the woman of the house. I listened to the woman and look where it got me.
Yeah, it's because I was thinking about national book tokens. Anyway, she also says, I love that you think Scarborough is in the south. Scarborough is not in the south. Back me up here, Ellie. Now, I do agree that it's not in the south. However, it depends where you start. David started far north of Scarborough and did indeed travel south to Scarborough.
Yeah, so for people, bearing in mind, my point, Olivia, was that the people of Hartlepool were having a go at me for being posh because I travelled as far south as Scarborough. So in some ways, you're sort of making my point for me. You back me up here, Georgia. You know what she's like. She's having a bloody go at me here. My goodness, Georgia. Has she always been like this, Olivia?
It's interesting that you say about people mishearing the lyrics of Hartlepool Peddler as Button's Salt. I couldn't remember the exact line, so I went on the internet, and the internet told me it was salt. What I should have done is gone to consult my signed copy of Strangers.
Sorry, consort or consult? Consult, sorry.
Consult my signed copy of Strangers and read the lyrics, which clearly say soap. That is my bad. However, this leads me to content question of the week. Okay. Have either of you ever misheard lyrics and only realised you were wrong when somebody pointed it out? And are there any funny ones that you can tell us about?
Now, that's interesting. I do feel, it's very interesting, Olivia. I'm doing all this stuff. I'm trying to push the form and push the boundaries. And Olivia's going, oh, I loved it when you played Guess the Intro, which was an accidental thing. We're just guessing the song. Oh, have you heard any misheard lyrics?
Are we just working through Never Mind the Buzzcocks?
Well, I would say in sort of radio, the two obvious things are, if you're short on material, you'll do Guess the Intro or misheard lyrics. And you've gone for both of those, Olivia. I can only hope that George has got a more sophisticated palate.
Well, the one I can think of is an ex-boyfriend of mine who thought that R.E.M. was saying, let's play Twister in a lift.
No, I can't even think what that song is.
Let's play Twister in a lift. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's Man on the Moon.
And what are the original lyrics?
It's meant to be, let's play Twister, let's play Risk.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, but he was an idiot.
There was a thing that someone showed me, like a Peter Kay thing, where he did misheard lyrics, and the audience were wetting themselves, and I was just like, this is absolutely ridiculous, because he's not actually really written anything. Like, it's a very easy form of comedy to do. But then again, I've been playing Guess the Veg.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if anyone's going to necessarily see me as a maverick. But, in fact, we should find it. Peter Kay, misheard lyrics. We'll have a little bit of this. You'll love this, Olivia. It's going to blow your mind. Wait till you discover garlic bread.
Karaoke. When you're singing on a karaoke, you haven't got a clue that those were words. I was singing Take That Back for Good. Wash your back. Wash your back. Wash your back. Want your back? What's this? Want your back? I've been singing Wash Your Back 15 years.
The audience are loving it.
You see lyrics, that's what they're supposed to be singing. You know that song, We Are Family? For years I thought they were singing, Just Let Me staple the vicar. Right? Who's right and who's wrong here? Listen.
Just let me staple the vicar.
That's what they sing. Just let me staple the vicar. That's all that about.
I mean, yeah, it's a good observation, but if I was doing a parody of Peter Kay, I would say, what's all that about?
Yeah.
He's parodies himself. It's that self-assured type of comedy that he's already said the punchline. He then plays the example, which I suppose is the punchline again.
Yeah.
So he's got a second laugh from actually playing it.
Yeah.
Then he's got the third laugh by just going, just staple the vicar. So he's essentially just said the punchline again.
Yeah.
And so the audience laugh again. And then just in case, most comedians will go, well, I've had 3 laughs out with that. Not Peter Kay. He'll then go, what's all that about? And then laugh again.
Well, it's made him a lot of money.
There is a one from 2016, one of the podcast episodes, where I did talk about misheard lyrics, sort of. People don't know what the words are, but it almost doesn't matter because if you were singing it, I don't feel like dancing when the balls open the bed. But the best bit is the don't feel like dancing. Don't feel like dancing. Now, you've not seen the lyrics there, Ellie.
No.
So what are the lyrics? So don't feel like dancing. What are the...
Don't feel like dancing when I know there's nothing to do.
Okay.
Okay, let's look it up. Oh, don't feel like dancing, even if I find nothing better to do. Don't feel like dancing. Why'd you pick a tune when I'm not in the mood?
Yeah, there's no way you would have got that. What are you looking to when you're not in the mood?
Don't feel like dancing. I'd rather be home with the one in the bed till dawn with you.
Yeah, you would never think that.
No, it's just vowels, isn't it?
Just sort of, just
noises.
fricatives.
There you go. And then, innuendo. Thank you, David. My husband already thinks I will run off with all 3 young'uns at some point.
Not all 3 of us.
I've had to share a room with all 3 of them at singing weekends, and you don't want to do that.
But also, I don't want to do that. I'm not suggesting I'd want to just run away with you, Olivia.
No.
To be honest, not that I know George is on the scene. The younger sister, I hear.
My husband already thinks I'll run off with all 3 young'uns at some point and squirms every time I tell him I've booked a gig. The things I've had to do to be allowed to book a singing weekend. So this is exciting.
So Olivia's joining us in a youth hostel.
Besides, now I know you and Ellie only want me for the content, sad face. You've dangled the carrot of more biscuits and a rendition of Flight of the Bumblebee, and now I appear to have become some sort of content concubine. Don't worry, Ellie, I'm not going to elope with David. You don't want to, mate. That really would be taking the idea of listener engagement to another level. Plus, I could be a middle-aged man. Part of me thinks I should have commented under a pseudonym, as per fans of the late Sir Terry Wogan. Terry's fans were famously known as Togs, Terry's old geezers and gals. However, if you were to do the same thing for your podcast, we'd be dogs, and you don't really have a good track record with those. Olivia, we should, we're not getting paid, but we should be paying you because you are putting the work in every week.
Well, tell you what, Olivia, how about this as a deal? A free window drawing from you. Ellie informed me, I think informed us all, actually, last week. Your mother has been in touch.
Oh, yes.
And then you said you were saving this for the podcast, so I'm assuming this is some kind of podcast-related thing?
Last week, she messaged to say, just listen to your bit on Forgive Me Daddy podcast. It was very good. It needs a new title. The Ellie, Skinner Eagle and David podcast. Don't tell him because he might cut you out in the future. She also then realised that she'd put my surname the wrong way round.
Well, I was thinking, it's obvious, she's put the surname the wrong way round there.
One day. She is dyslexic, to be fair. And also, she always thought that the Skinner should go first, because that's my
I don't think the Skinner should go first. We've talked about this, I'm sure, but Skinner Eagle sounds like the kind of thing you might hear at the sex club, I think. What do you want me to do? Oh, Skinner Eagle. Oh.
Upsetting. And with that, listeners...
So yes, that's the end. We are going to end, though. I went on a walk. I did bump into Leo and his support worker or his family member. I'd bumped into them previously on the podcast a few weeks back. A lad with special needs called Leo and his friend, and they were doing some busking. And we sang Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody. Well, I saw them again. And this time as well, I was able to tell them that they were on the podcast and they were very popular. We got some lovely... Oh, I just realised you said we have some messages from Facebook.
Oh yeah, let's have a quick look.
Oh, we could just do those next week.
Yeah, we could roll them over.
We'll never get to... Oh, could we?
Right, so commenting on I Smell Woman.
So we'll come back to what I was saying. I bumped into them again, and we're going to end with another song, because we sang another song with them, and I was also able to tell them that they were very popular on the podcast and that we've been recording. They were absolutely delighted about that. So we're going to end with another song with Leo and whoever else is. I think he was called Case. But first, we got more comments.
Yes, so Eileen put, so glad I just read your post, David. Got to the bit about apple crumble and realised I'd put a rhubarb crumble in the oven. Managed to retrieve it before it was too late, but I will now listen to the podcast while eating my not quite burned crumble. How lucky was that?
Wonderfully fortuitous. And if you want more rhubarb, the David Eagle podcast is the perfect thing for you.
Margaret says, just caught up with last week's episode. Supplying an instant bass for random lads singing Whitney Houston in the park is brilliant. There should be more singing in public spaces, so she's going to be very pleased.
Oh, well, that is the perfect segue. Unless, of course, we have another comment to read. Well, that is the perfect segue. Well done, Margaret, because we're going to end with myself, Case, and Leo in the park. Two complete strangers, as until a few weeks ago, in the park. And this time we shall be singing ABBA and Waterloo, complete with lots of wind. Enjoy. We'll be back next week. But from now, from me, David Eagle.
And me, Ellie Eagle Skinner.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Waterloo. Waterloo.
Go on, mate.
Waterloo.
Finally facing my Waterloo.
Waterloo.
Knowing my fate is to be with
Oh, perfect. Waterloo.
finally facing my Waterloo.
Hey, very good.
Just impressive skill.
Well, yes, I didn't use the cane last time as a percussive instrument,
No,
but this
you
time,
you were like,
my goodness, we've been improving. Oh, great to meet you both.
Yeah,
good to see you again. Yeah, so if you look up at the David Eagle podcast, you'll be there at some point. Oh, high five! I'm going to end up. Oh
no, you got it.
We got it. I nearly missed. I was worried I was going to hit you in the face there. Always perilous when you ask a blind person to do a high five.
He has no fear.
Exactly. Oh, great to see you both. See you soon. Bye.